It was possible for a while maybe, but not anymore. So what they've done through this book by a guy called David Rothkopf, who worked for the infamous Kissinger Associates and was in the Clinton administration and stuff, he's written this book called Superclass, The Global Power Elite and the World They Are Making. And what it is, in effect, is an admission that, yes, there is a super elite and it does control events, but it's not coordinated and it's not controlled. It's like a fallback position. All right, we can't deny a few control the world now, so we'll have a fallback position. Yeah, they do, but they're not coordinated. It's just a loose connection of interests. You know, bullshit. In fact, it's coldly calculated and it's very, very simply constructed. And I want to go through a few coordinates now of how this group, this hybrid bloodline, with the goals that I've described, how it's structured society to bring about its ends. First of all, how can a few control the world? Well, pyramid power, in more ways than one. But this sort of pyramid I'm talking about now. Most organizations today, in fact, nearly virtually all of them, are structured as pyramids. You've got the few at the top. They're the people that know the real game, what the organization's there for, its real agenda, what it's really trying to achieve. As you come down through the organization, you're meeting more and more and more people in the organization, but every time you drop a step, they know less and less and less about what the organization's really about. They only know their contribution. And the idea through history has been to structure society like this, to keep the people in general in ignorance of what they know. That's why this advanced knowledge has been passed over through the highest levels of the secret society network and been sucked out of the general population through inquisitions and ridicule and condemnation and all the rest of it. But every organization is structured like that. So the vast majority of people who are daily making a contribution to creating this Orwellian state have no idea they're doing so, or at least no idea what the end goal is and who's really behind it. This is Albert Pike, a Freemasonic god in America, and from the last century, or the 1800s actually. We're 21st century now, aren't we? What day is it? What planet am I on? And he wrote this: "Fictions are necessary to the people, and the truth becomes deadly to those who are not strong enough to contemplate it in all its brilliance. In fact, what can there be in common between the vile multitude," that's us, "and sublime wisdom? The truth must be kept secret, and the masses need a teaching proportioned to their imperfect reason." So, what they're doing is that ancient knowledge, that ancient advanced knowledge I talked about, they have sucked it out as much as they can out of circulation through inquisitions and all this stuff, but they've passed it on and more across the secret society network. So at that level, not Joe Bloggs, the Freemason, goes down the lodge, they do a nice dinner, not that, right at the top. They're working on a knowledge of reality that I talked about earlier, and they're using it to manipulate the masses, who they keep from that knowledge. And pyramid power works like this too. We think presidents and prime ministers and stuff are at the top of the decision-making process. They're not. They are positioned lower in the pyramid, and they are just vehicles for the shadow people to introduce changes in society through them. So you have an idiot like Bush, and he turns this stuff through legislation into law just by signing his soddy name, when he can remember it, on the bottom of a piece of paper. That's what they're there for. They are vehicles. They're not the source of the power. People say to me, "So you say George Bush orchestrated 9/11? Can't tie his shoelaces, mate." No, I'm not saying that. No. Ridiculous. You're a journalist, aren't you? Yes, I thought you were. You thought that elephant was a duck, right? Yeah, I got you. I remember you now. And these pyramids are like Russian dolls, one doll inside a bigger doll inside a bigger doll, to create this global structure. So all these pyramids of the banking system, the transnational corporations, they're pyramids in themselves, like banks. They go into bigger pyramids and bigger pyramids until there's one that encompasses the whole of the banking system, one that controls all the transnational corporations, the political parties, the major parties at least that have any chance of forming a government, the media at ownership level, the religions, bloody come to that soon. The intelligence agencies at that level are the same agency. Mossad is the CIA, is British intelligence if you go up to these levels. Same with the drug cartel, etc. And so up here, you have these bloodline families who are sending down these pyramids, all roads lead to them, the same agenda. And the basis of it is the constant centralization of power and imposition of will of the authorities on the people. And that's why it's happening across all these apparently unconnected areas of society, because they're not unconnected. What you have is one force operating through different sides in the movie. And while we think there are different sides, as we experience the movie in visible light reality, we get confused. I mean, he's on that side, and he's fighting him, and he's against him, and he's against her. But in fact, they're controlled by the same people. And you know, if you go into a football match and you control not one side to influence the football match, you control both sides, you know what the score's going to be before the teams go on the field. And this is why they operate like this. They operate by controlling what appear to be sides and antagonists in the five-sense reality, but in fact, it's just a movie. It's part of a game pushing the agenda for Orwellian control. This is what I'm talking about with that image earlier. These people, they might appear to fight in the movie, but actually they're controlled ultimately by the same force to the same end. And some of these will be the reptilian bloodline, some of them might not be. I think most of these probably are. But these are just puppets. Even they might be powerful puppets over people below them in the structure, but they're still puppets of the shadow people who are really calling the shots and deciding what goes on and what doesn't. And because of this genetic situation in the hybrid bloodlines of empathy, lack of empathy, because of the predominance compared with the general population of the reptilian brain genetics, they can do horrendous things that we couldn't even contemplate because we have empathy with the victims of our actions. They do not. Without that emotional consequence, there are no limits, and we see that on the news every day. Another coordinate, the way that we are manipulated through what are mind and emotional manipulation techniques. Problem, reaction, solution. It was a term I came up with years ago to describe something that is known as the Hegelian dialectic among people with, who like long syllables. And makes you sound really clever, you know. It would never make me sound clever, bloody hell. Crown Hill Secondary Modern. Third window on the left with the best view of the games period. That was me at school. Problem, reaction, solution. The highest official level of the Scottish Rite of Freemasonry is the 33rd degree, and it has this motto, Ordo ab chaos, order out of chaos. And it translates to me as problem, reaction, solution. It works like this. You want to change society in a certain way here. You know that if you announce that openly, you're going to get an adverse reaction from the people. Imagine if the changes that have happened since 9/11 in terms of the destruction of freedoms and civil liberties had been proposed without 9/11. What you doing? We're doing. We're not. This is a fascist state. We're not having this. Oh well, no, we've got to have it because it's terrorists. You know, problem, reaction, solution. So you don't announce it openly. You at stage one create a problem. Terrorist bomb. I'm coming out. Terrorist bomb. I've got a wire loose. I read that in the Mirror once. He's got a wire loose, he said. They're right. And You create a problem, terrorist bomb, war, run on a currency, credit crunch, rising food prices, anything that will allow you to offer the solution you want to change society. You then tell the people the version of the problem that you want them to believe, i.e. Bin Laden did this, Lee Harvey Oswald did this. And the pathetic mainstream media, instead of investigating the official version, just repeat it to the people, and the people at stage 2 are supposed to react, and most of the time they do. React with outrage, with fear, and they say, something must be done, this can't go on, what are they going to do about it? At which point, those who covertly created the problem got that reaction, offer the solutions to the problems they have themselves covertly created, and those solutions are changes in society which advance the Orwellian state and the centralization of power, so the few can have more and more power over the many by this centralization of power. So if you look at the Second World War, these bloodlines were behind Soviet communism, they were behind the capitalist countries, or cartel